Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is the prevailing Muslim, and we are going to talk about slavery in Islam today and answer some questions that uh, some non Muslims or even Muslims might have about slavery in Islam, inshallah. The first question, or one of the questions, may be why have captives of war or slaves in the first place? The short answer to this, or one of the reasons to this, could be that when the Muslims would defeat the enemy in a battle, they would take in the captives and they would serve the Muslims. Why? Because they had no prisons. The Muslims had no prisons at that time. So that's the short answer to that. Another questions that people might have is, does Islam say that Muslims should establish slavery? No, Islam does not advocate for Muslims to make slavery prevalent. We have rules and regulations because it exists. It existed and it could exist in the future. What we can see in the Book of Allah is the encouragement of freeing slaves. If we go to Surah 90, verse 11 to 13, it says, "But he has not broken through the difficult pass. And what can make you know what is breaking through the difficult pass? It is freeing a slave." So that's the first encouragement. And we have things like if we break an oath, then you can free a slave. And of course, you cannot capture a man or a woman outside of war and make him your slave and consume his wealth. Anybody who does this will be going to war with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Someone might ask, okay, what's the rights of the war captives or the slaves? Those war captives you do catch through war have rights. You have to feed the captives what you eat. You have to clothe them. You have to clothe them with what you wear, or the way you are clothed, and you don't overburden them with work. In the Book of Allah, chapter 4, verse 36, you can see that Allah instructs us to worship Allah alone without partners. And we can also find a list that mentions 9 categories of people that you have to be good to. One of them being the people your right hand possesses, which is the slaves. We can also see in Sahih al-Bukhari, book 46720, that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "If you have a slave girl, educate her, treat her well, free her, and marry her. That you will, if you do this, you will get the double reward." So that's kind of a summarized summary of how Islam obligates Muslims to treat slaves, or at least encourages. Then there's also the claim that Muslims are allowed to rape female war captives. This argument can be easily refuted by this hadith in Sahih Muslim, book 15, hadith 4082. 4082. We can find the Prophet ﷺ telling a man to free a female captive or slave. Why? Because the owner, or the guy that had the slave, slapped her. So how can a religion that does not even allow the slapping of a female captive allow her to be raped? It makes no sense. On top of that, chapter 24, verse 32 says, "And marry the unmarried among you, the righteous among your male slaves and female slaves." And this verse is about arranging the marriage of those people whom your right hand possesses, and the slave owner should not hinder the marriage. And you can find the evidence here. If you want more information about slavery in Islam, you can go to the video of EF Dawa by Imran, where he has a long video. I think it's like 45 minutes video, where he explains this in a very good way. And this I got all of this stuff, or at least the majority of this stuff from that video. Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.